Good evening, my name is Illarrah Roberts. I'm a proud descendant from the Bundjalung, Gomeroi and Euahlayi nations. I too would like to acknowledge and pay respect to the land that we meet on and extend that to all Aboriginal people here today. It is a great honour for me to stand before you and deliver this speech as we mark 40 years of the New South Wales Aboriginal Land Rights Act of 1983. Land rights was born into me. My family have been advocates for decades, since before the Aboriginal Land Rights Act was introduced back in 1983. Of course, that was before my time and before my parents' eyes met across a crowded room. They continue the land rights struggle to this day. I see the hours of dedication that my mother puts in at our land council. I hear the stories of my grandfather. This is what drives me as a descendant from the Bundjalung, Gomeroi and Euahlayi nations, and my home, Cabbage Tree Island. I see the pain that my community has gone through as they have suffered and struggled to be away from their home, my home, as a result of last year's catastrophic floods. Our community suffers as farmers shape and shift the land, blocking up our mother's watery veins with dams. Then when she fights back, we all suffer without taking responsibility as custodians. This is all our responsibility. Our people can't be seen to be taking the role as sole custodians. We all live on this land. We are all custodians. You are all a custodian. Land is critical to our physical, mental and spiritual health. This is the importance that the land has to our people, to me and to you. My community want to return home to Cabbage Tree Island, yet we are unable to. We understand the dangers, yet it should be our decisions as First Nations people. We are the original regulators to this land. We are the original legislators through law, LORE, and customs. Which brings me to today's celebration. 50 years ago, land rights now was the call of the day. Land rights, how was this to be achieved? Those leading the charge for land rights at the time must have understood what they were doing. I guess they did. But at the end of the day, they were dependent upon our colonisers to recognise and give land rights to us. What an irony. As a youth of today in this 21st century, it makes me laugh and cry at the same time. Why? Because our elders had to put their bodies and personal reputations on the line. They had to live with their outcomes no matter whether they failed or succeeded. They were branded for the rest of their lives. We as youth of today must never forget their efforts. Love them or hate them, they did it and we are the beneficiaries of their courage. In 1965, a man by the name of Frank Walker went on the Freedom Ride with the late Nothingy Perkins, travelling through northwest, northern and mid-north coast of New South Wales. He challenged Australia to bring an end to apartheid. Frank Walker became the Attorney General of New South Wales. He introduced a land rights bill into this parliament after a statewide inquiry into land rights led by Murray Keane with Kevin Gilbert as his Aboriginal lead person. At the time, there was in existence the New South Wales Aboriginal Lands Trust, whose chairman at the time was the late Uncle Nothingy Munro Sr. My learned knowledge of these leaders was they were not engaged by the consultants at the time and they were not involved in working with the New South Wales government to negotiate a new way forward for land rights. Why? We will never know. The success of the legislation proposed by Walker saw the emergence of the New South Wales Aboriginal Land Council. History shows that the objectives to this legislation was that it would lead to uncertainty. But what about our people's ability to get back to their lands which had been taken from them all those years ago? The problems our communities face now are the legacies of being removed from country. We therefore must ask, are we ready to address the issues of reparations to those people who were forcibly removed from their lands? I am disturbed to see that when the New South Wales Government gave us the Aboriginal Land Council, they also gave us the Crown Lands Revocation Validation Act of 1983. You may ask, what's this got to do with the 40-year celebration? This act validated the taking of former mission lands. I would now like to turn my attention to the councillors who over the years must have endured frustrations, the likes of which we will never know. I applaud their determination in fighting against the odds, having to cope with their people's hopes and aspirations, only to learn that there are limitations to the Land Rights Act. As councillors, we know that you do your best to fight and protect the rights that we have. We have the Aboriginal Land Rights Act, and I understand that people like Frank Walker and his supporters within government did what they could at the time. I do salute you, councillors, for your efforts to navigate the system that remains foreign to our people. So as a youth, I ask, why haven't we achieved what our people expect? We all must understand that the past and present day councillors can only do what is written in the Act. I hear you guys in this Parliament House make laws though, so pretty handy we're having a chat about what needs to be done today, hey? Which brings me to the future. If I may be so bold as to say, we have come a long way, but we still have a long way to go. Since the introduction of the Aboriginal Land Rights Act, there has been over 53,000 land claims lodged. Whilst there has been 4,000 land claims granted, it is my understanding that there remains in excess of 38,000 outstanding land claims. And we are celebrating 40 years of land rights in New South Wales. Need I say more? These are matters and issues that remained outstanding. 40 years is a long time, and the Aboriginal Land Rights Act has given us many great outcomes. Yet, the greatest piece of legislation for our people plays a recessive role. As we make moves to develop and maintain our land as we have for generations, we continue to hit hurdles. Therefore, we must take a dominant role in law and policy making to free up our use of land and custodial decision making. Self-determination takes action. It takes the movement. We all need to move along to put land rights back on the agenda. Regardless of political motives, regardless of a yes or no vote, we can make change now through positive legislative and policy changes that benefit our people, for us and our future. We are sick and tired of the recessive role. We must take our place now as the dominant people that our ancestors were, to fight for the land rights that we have now. If we don't do this, there may be no land left to fight for. In ending this speech, I simply say as a youth, thanks to all who went before and made it possible for us to have something. At the time, it was a great step forward for our people, but we have made many more strides forward since. Therefore, we need to continue to build on the foundation that was originally laid down for us. Thank you.